Good afternoon. This is Friday. This is the first Friday in May 2016. And if you're looking for the weekly broadcast of Ask Welfare Rights, you have found us once again, a little bit past 7 o'clock. You are watching, as always, the greatest station, local station in the nation, www.tv33whpr.com if you're on the internet. And if you're able to watch us on TV, of course, you're watching the fabulous TV33 WHPR. There are numbers at the bottom of your screen. And if you would like to call us about anything, those numbers are there 868 4336, 868 0351. My name is Maureen Taylor, and I work with the Michigan Welfare Rights Organization. And today, Marion is, of course, someplace else. But I'm not alone. I'm here with a good buddy. Been around welfare rights for umpteen years. We won't say how long, because otherwise somebody be thinking that they was old. Not me, but maybe him. And this is one of our close buddies with welfare rights, one of our UAW champions. This is Mr. Reggie Osborne. Reggie, say good afternoon.
Good evening, everyone. Proud to be on the show this evening, and I thank you for the invite, Miss Mary.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Maureen.
Now, a couple of things I thought we might be able to address. Let me start off with, we lost Jen in May 2 years ago.
Yeah, that was
Doesn't
a
even
tragic
hardly
loss.
seem like it. We
Yeah.
can't even get over it. And right about that time, I had talked to Jen, and I said, Jen, we need to be able to do something so that we could tell these young students that unions are important and organizing and whatnot is important. Well, Mo, what you want to do? So I said, well, I'm thinking about a tour over at the Rouge plant. So he told me who to call. And, none of you all at the UAW have regular names. All of you all named Dip and all kind of other things. You got to find out who the rest of these people are. Scrunch, Skip, who are these people? So after a while, I was able to figure out who to contact and got a hold of the right people. And that was our first UAW, Local 600 UAW General Baker tour. And for folks that are not aware, we're doing it again in another week or two. And my brother Reggie here was the one and is the one that helped me to set it up. And we take these kids into the plant because a lot of them think I'm not going to college once I get out of high school. I'm going to go work at Ford and General Motors and Chrysler, and my life gonna be happy. If I don't do that, I'm gonna go join the New York Knicks or something like that. Would be football player, something crazy like that.
Yeah.
So we're able to bring reality to these kids, and I want to thank Reggie publicly. He already knows how I feel about him. But just as soon as you call on him and get a hold of folks at Local 600 and say this is what we want to do, they just say, don't worry us about that. Send us the details and we're going to make it so.
Exactly right.
And I'm just so proud and so happy and hopeful that the next group of children that we bring there in a couple of more days going to get a hold of the reality and really pay attention to what's happening. So, Reg, why don't you give us some updated information? I think Marion had said something to you about this right to work stuff and what does that mean. But why don't you give us a little update on UAW activities and what should we know and some things that you all might be doing so that we can stay connected?
Well, as you said, we have a lot of things that's going on.
A little bit closer.
Right to work.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not right to work.
Yeah, yeah, no right.
It's a
to
right
work.
to freeload. So, I mean,
Wow. Okay.
many throw it out there as a false illusion. And many people don't understand the mere fact that even the slogan itself, right to work. Yeah, everybody has a right to work, but nobody has a right to work the way they think that it's actually been put out there.
Yeah.
You take a right to work state. Michigan is one of those states that it never should have happened here. So when you start looking at situation where right to work came available, the great Dr. King, they was trying to pass a right to work law in Oklahoma in 1961.
Wow.
And he spoke against that, and he said it was an illusion. And the mere fact that he was speaking against it was because he knew right to work wasn't right, and wasn't giving everybody that what they really thought, and that was right to work. And in the great doctor's very words, he said, It's a purpose in to destroy labor unions and freedom of collective bargaining by which unions have improved wages,
How?
working conditions of everyone. Whenever these laws have been passed in any state, wages are lower, job opportunities are fewer, and our civil rights are attacked. So many of us, we understand what right to work is. Every seated governor in the state of Michigan knew what right to work was, but this previous governor that we have today, Rick Snyder, I mean, uh, the worst of the worst, John England, knew that Michigan was not to be a right to work state. Right to work, yeah, it gives people the right to freeload off the unions. It says that we have to represent somebody that don't want to be a part of such a strong organization. So we have to be mindful of those things. And you have those conservative right wings out there that actually decide that, well, you know what? This is the way to bust the unions.
Yeah.
And when you tell people that they really don't have to be a part of the union and the union have to represent you anyway and you don't have to pay them dues. Well, we're a very large orchestrated body of people as far as UAW and unions itself. The unions came around what hundreds of years ago.
That's
I mean,
right.
this ain't
Long
the
time.
first time, and we had Local 600 got started. June 21st, 1941 is when we got our first collective bargaining agreement, which is only 24 pages long. And now we have 5 volumes of contract. And now here you are, you tell
Really?
people, yeah, that you really don't have to be a part of the union. And why that is, I don't know. People think, that it's just that simple. And, conservative right wingers don't really understand. They say we're greedy. Well, I look back in history in early 1900s, and when they was organizing every place that it could be organized as a union. So, and doing those kind of things, it makes you think, well, if they had unions 100 years ago, what's so bad about the union today?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, those are some of the things that we're dealing with, and as well, the kids. We try. My boss, Bernie Ricky, he makes it real something to go after. When we hear about the kids, and our thing is today is to get the union, the young people back involved in the union, and make them understand what the unions are for, about, and where we come from, and how we got to be who we are today. You know.
You know already, welfare rights. Our hearts are tied into all of this, and we were offended and shocked when Snyder was able to get the right kind of a spin on this right to work, knowing that these are words that they stole from us, and that's what they
Exactly.
do, you
Yeah.
know. And so at that time when we were railing, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, and then they have to interview 50 people. Then they find number 51 that says I agree with it, and
Yeah.
that's the one that they put on TV. But for such a long time, the question of organizing and the question of the importance of just blue collar workers being involved with making decisions on how the world works. I was for that from the very beginning. Man, my dad was a member of the post office union, so we grew up in a blue collar union household. So we were always with that. But Red, say something about I have a bad attitude. I went to the Concerned Women's Council down at the General Motors local down there on the boulevard, and I took the position in one of the workshops, and I said it out loud. Now, I don't think unions and union members and union administrators need to help those son of a guns that don't want to pay to be in a membership of the union. You know, and of course, folks say, no, 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 Maureen, that's not the right thing. No, look. I don't feel it. If you're not paying your membership dues, same way I feel about welfare rights. If you're not paying your membership dues,
Yeah.
which we use to keep the phones on, the roof over our head, and then things happen to you, why turn to us? You didn't think it was important enough to pay your membership dues at the time. And I feel the same way. And it is absolutely a strike, a death blow against the unions to say you don't have to pay union dues, yet the union has to represent you. Speak on that for a little bit, because that makes
Well,
me crazy.
it's something to think about, and actually, it's we call them leeches. And when you get people that really decide that, hey, I'll use you, and I'll get what out of you what I can, but I'm not going to pay no dues. I mean, there's never been a time you can go in the court of law and actually, you can go with a state paid lawyer, but you get state paid representation also. So I mean, union is just a service that we provide. And many people understand just how powerful we are. And we do a great deal of things
Oh,
in
I
this
know.
great union of ours. And just let me say this here. Right now, though we do have Michigan is a right to work state. We've been very fortunate at Local 600, and I think our last number we checked, we only had 6 members to actually want to opt out of the union. I mean, when you've been around this
Is
great
that
union many
right?
of years, it doesn't matter what you think about us or how you look at us, but
Mm-hmm.
you know we do a good job.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing about it, sometimes you become to that place where you become an at-will worker, and many people just don't want to be that at-will worker.
Yeah,
So I mean, yeah, we have to represent them, and we'll represent
I
them,
know.
And if we do a good enough job, they might have that this mindset to say, you know what, I guess I'll stick around here because it ain't so bad being a union rep after all.
The come to Jesus moment might
Yeah.
hit them, huh?
So you know, that time when they really get out there, and critically, the
Mm-hmm.
law says that we have to represent them, but it doesn't say how hard we have to represent them.
Yeah, yeah.
It says all we have to do is show up. But I mean, that's not an approach that we take. We want to make sure, because people have families,
Yep,
and
yep.
sometimes they make the wrong decisions to decide, well, I'm gonna back up. I'm not gonna be that. But they have families, and we have to make sure that, although you don't want to be a part, what does your wife think about that? What are your kids
Okay.
saying about that?
Good thought.
So I mean, a man with a wife and 3 kids, a woman with a husband and family, because they make a decision not to be a part of us, do I let them go hungry because something happened with them and they up for fired, they're being fired on the job? So what
Good
I do,
thinking.
walk away from it? No, I can't walk away from those kids.
Good thinking.
I can't walk away from that family because, that is a family. And if we don't take care of them, let them take care of themselves, sooner or later down the road, workers' welfare rights will come in and have to take care of them anyway
And
because
that's what's going to
that's
happen.
what's going to
Y'all
happen.
turn them over to us.
So we do have to
You
represent
see?
those, and that's a good thing.
Oh my goodness, you got a good heart, Reggie. Better
Yeah.
than mine. Caller, you on the air. You're our first call of the afternoon, and thank you for calling Ask Welfare Rights. And our guest is here, Mr. Reggie Osborne. You're on the air.
Yeah, well, good afternoon, and thank you for being there, Miss Welfare Rights, and your guest.
All
I
right.
just
Thank
have
you.
a comment, and I've never been a part of a union. Somehow, through my work life, it just wasn't, in their formula. It was primarily white-collar work. But I grew up in a union household, and so I understand what it means to be part of a union and the importance of a union. You mentioned one thing, or a number of things that are very important, but you mentioned being an at-will worker. And I think you might want to elaborate on that for the audience because an at-will worker means that they can fire you for cause or no cause, and you have no recourse. And the majority of individuals in the workforce do not have a contract unless you are part of a union or unless you are part of that 1 or 2 or 5% that have their contracts. So it is very important for people to understand the importance of a union. And secondly, it's also important to understand that unions, in my opinion, set the tone for benefits for other groups that are not unionized. They tend to look at what the union has negotiated and look at what the benefits are, the pay scales, and et cetera. And they try to stay fairly close to the amounts that the unions have set to protect themselves from becoming unionized, if you will. At least that's my thought and my experience. But that at-will concept is very important, and I don't think people know how vulnerable they are without a contract. So thank you very much for your work. Take good care, and thank you for taking my call.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
very much, caller. Thank you very much, Reggie. The caller wants you to say a little bit more about what is an at-will employee.
I know we got some folks out there listening because actually at will didn't tie into what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad she asked the question
Mm-hmm.
because you have a lot of facilities that are non-union.
Mm.
Those are what you consider at-will workers. Those workers that work in a non-union shop and have to feel the butt of the management coming around and tapping you on the shoulder and say, you know what,
Mm-hmm.
we don't no longer need your services here at this location. We're getting rid of you. And then, you have nobody to turn
Mm-hmm.
to. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so this is what an at will work is. At will work is that guy or that individual out there that don't have nobody to protect them. And the union is there to protect all our people. See, in a union facility, they just can't walk up to you and say, well, you know what, you fired, Miss Maureen. We
Mm-hmm.
don't no longer need your services. Well, they have to look at us and understand, well, she's protected by the union. But an at-will worker is that worker that's out there that decide, well, you know what, we came and organized you guys. You guys didn't want to be organized, so here you are. You don't have no union in your facility. So guess what? Here you are, and I don't need your services anymore. So guess what? You have to leave my facility, and you have to leave.
I don't have
So
anybody
yeah,
that can help me.
exactly. That's an at-will worker. That guy that can't
Working
get
at
protected
will.
by the union, and he feels, well, I'm better off without a union. And they soon find out, and how bad a feeling it is when manager decides to walk up to you and walk you out of their facility because you have no union to protect you.
Caller, you on the air. Thank you for calling Ask Welfare Rights. My guest is here. This is Mr. Reggie Osborne. You're on the air, caller.
Yes, good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
good evening,
Good evening.
and good evening to your guests.
All
You
right.
know, first of all, I got two statements to make. If you can remember, when these unions started breaking up, is when Reagan stepped in to them air pilots. Remember when they went on strike,
Yeah, air
and he
traffic
got rid of a lot of them? If you
Busting
can
up.
remember back, and ever since then, the union's been messing up. It's just like with the Detroit Public Schools where I retired from. The principals, they took the principals out of the union. You know, so all that goes back to starting when Reagan interfered with them air pilots, if you can remember.
You talking
And,
about those
ever
air
since
traffic
then.
controllers?
And unions are good to have. You need a union in order to represent you. And then also, Marie,
Yes, dear.
I haven't forgot Parks Barbecue.
Look, if
And
I
I know
keep
you
waiting
waiting
on
on
you to
it.
take me around the parks, me and Parks both gonna be retired. See, call down the welfare rights and leave your
All
number
right,
so I
I
can
thought
find
I'm
you.
enjoying the program too.
Yeah, thank you,
Okay.
thank you.
All right.
Reggie, this young man is referring to that air traffic controller nightmare that happened when Ronald Reagan told those union guys that you out of here, I guess they were viewed as public employees, and we don't need you anymore, and this union is gone. And I still remember how crazy that was, and I thought, how can the how can the president get on the phone or get on TV and break through and just bust up a union? And I've never been able to understand how that happened.
Well, many people want to blame the air traffic controllers and Ronald Reagan, but and allow me to say,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't Reagan's fault.
Mm-hmm.
It was their fault.
Mm-hmm.
They had a no strike clause, and when
Mm.
they decided they were going to strike, he had but one choice.
He
I
had
can't
'em.
let America be grounded. So
Just a moment.
guess what?
Mm-hmm.
I'll bring in my people, and that's what he did. When you commander in chief, that means you can bring in pilots from anywhere. And he knew then, and they knew they couldn't strike.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Mm-hmm.
reason behind that madness, they could have addressed it another way. And see, they wasn't a part of what we was a part of anyway.
Okay.
And yeah, allow me to say, I'll just say it like this: I believe
Mm-hmm.
it was a setup all the time, and the way it happened
Mm.
because they came down that Labor Day and they marched with us, and we haven't seen them since. They
Is
have
that right?
never been to another Labor Day parade,
Not since that
not
first
since
time.
that first time. And they came down in uniform, but that was the only time that they ever came down and actually supported the union. So seems like a lot of times things happen. We think was it was put out. It was yeah.
Spontaneous. It wasn't
wasn't.
spontaneous
I
at
think it
all.
was something going on at that point.
Mercy. Caller, you on there. Thank you for waiting and thank you for calling Ask Welfare Race. We're down to our last 38 minutes. Go.
Thank you. I just like to ask two questions, and once I do, I'm going to hang up and listen to your answer.
And thank you.
I've worked 30 years for CWA and retired with great benefits. I lost the majority of my pension in the 2008-9 market. So I'm right now I subside on just my basic Social Security. And when I do, I tried to go down and get assistance, food assistance, and I was denied several times. And I knew I was qualified for it, but I was denied. They kept saying that I didn't turn the paperwork in. Finally, I had to threaten to go to the news and go to the governor before they gave me assistance. And when they finally did, I received $16 a month. And I'm wondering if there's anyone that can check into how many senior citizens are on there, and they've got the numbers saying that they have these many recipients, but how many are receiving that $16 just like I am? Now, the other question is for the gentleman. I feel that it would behoove you if possible, to start setting up accounts, just like the companies have 401ks for the employees to save money. Set up accounts so that your CWA or UAW workers can save a little bit of their own money and not feel like they're just giving it to you, but they're putting it into an account so that when it comes time to make a decision whether to go on strike, they don't have to worry about it. They know they're behind the covers. You know what I'm saying? They've got money, and it will strengthen your power, too. So I was wondering if you could look into something like that. Now, I'm going to hang up. Now, I'm going to let her answer my question about the food stamp, and then I'll listen to yours. And thank you so much for hearing me.
All right, very good. And I'm going to address that $16 issue in just a second. So don't go away. Hang up, but listen. Okay, grab your pencil and paper. All right. Caller, you on the air. We'll take a couple of calls, then we'll let Reggie answer all of them. Caller, you on the air. Thank you for calling Ask Welfare Rights. Go.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes. I wish I could have said more to that young lady that talked about this. They changed the rules about not collective bargaining, but for funds that you had to do, and they wouldn't allow you to establish a strike fund. I belong to a union, a pipe fitters union in the city of Detroit, and people of educational, and I'm not mad at them, teachers and whatnot. They never felt that they needed a union. I have educators in my family, and they said, "Well, I can negotiate for myself," and that was historically their problem. And then municipal unions, when they were established, and I don't know all about them, the leadership was paid by their employer. Okay, now in my union, I pay my leadership. So when we get out there, he's just affected in the situation that I am. If we don't get a good contract, he's going to lose his money also.
Now, caller, I want you to wrap it up now.
Okay, I'll just leave that go. But they changed the rules. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so very much. Reggie, hold on. We'll take this other one. Caller, you on the air. Thank you for waiting, and thank you for calling Ask Welfare Rights. My guest is Reggie Osborne. Go.
To the answer that the young man said about the Reagan situation.
Yes.
I understand that, but he don't have a right. He has a right, like you say, to get rid of their fire them and let them lose their job, put new one. Don't forget the teachers not supposed to strike either. But you have to take a stand somewhere. If you don't take a stand, just like the unions, all those unions or whatever, if they strike, they stay out until they get what they want. So I don't go along with that just because somebody's the president, they can just get rid of people. That's why the unions do what some of the unions do what they do to the principals at the school. Get rid of all the union principals. Okay, I'm going to hang up and listen.
All right, we're going to answer that question too. Caller, you're on the air. Thank you for waiting.
Hey,
and
Maureen.
Yes.
I want to know, is this the UAW union?
Yes, this is
and
Reggie
I'm in
Osborne.
174.
Yes, this is Reggie Osborne from UAW Local 600.
Well, I'm in Local 174.
Okay.
I just want to know, because they let us go out early from General Motors, and we didn't they cut our pension. They cut everything from us. And we don't get as much as the rest of the people get because we took the early mutual. So, but when we asked to get help, I called those places to get help or something. We can't get any help. They done cut the lawyers out. They done cut everything out from the UAW. So when are they going to put those people back in position again so we can get lawyers through the UAW? Because it used to be where you could get a lawyer and they would help you out with different things. But now they don't do that because they say they just cut them out. So I would like to know because I'm still in Local 174 and I still pay dues.
All right, I wrote all these questions down. Everybody
Okay.
grab your pencils and paper. Let's get some homework done. Thank you, Miss Eastside. All right, about the $16 issue. Anybody who believes that they are eligible for food stamps, for Medicaid, for cash assistance, for subsidized housing, vouchers, should be, and you believe you're being discriminated against, so your rights are being violated on any of those levels, even if you suspect that's the case, you should be calling Welfare Rights. welfare rights, we are a union.
Exactly.
And that's what we do. We protect you. We protect our members. So the young lady that called first and was concerned because she had to threaten in order to get the limited food stamps, it would be fantastic if you would call me. I will be at Welfare Rights this Saturday. I come in every Saturday from 11 to 12 for at least an hour, and I always end up staying longer than that if I'm in town. But please call me at Welfare Rights this Saturday about 11:30. 313-964-0618, 964-0618. And I'd be happy to talk you through whatever it is that happened and take a look at your case and see if you're eligible for more. Okay, so now, Reggie, the next question came up about a strike fund.
Well,
Why don't y'all save some money for a strike? You know?
we're not obligated to, have the. In other words, the only fund we have available is those that's coming through the company, which is the 401k. My biggest priority was when I was president inside the plant. Now that I work for Bernie and Ricky over at Local Sunday, I would always tell the young people to save some money. And I think that's what's necessary. We can't. We have so much going with NLRB and different things that we held accountable for, that I don't think we'll be able to draw funding. Now I could be wrong, but I don't think that's something we would want to address as
Okay.
trying to build a fund, because it's hard enough to get them to. I mean, to put in 401k. So let alone talking about the union putting some money
Okay.
together.
Alrighty. Then the young man with the pipe fitters union, and he seemed to be under the impression that if the union organizers adopt a contract that's bad, all of the workers involved in that contract have to just suffer until the next time that the contract comes up. I don't know how that works because in the welfare rights union, we're a little bit different, and our union rules have to deal with of fighting for the rights of every individual, and we've got a book of rules that we follow. And we don't deviate. So I don't know how it works in the UAW in terms of do you like my son is over there at Local 600, and he's telling me that when the union contract language and whatnot come up, there were a lot of different discussions prior to individual workers having to sign on. So there was lots of explanations. Does that happen in all unions? The young man with the pipe fitters, I don't know if they get a chance to read the union contract first, but UAW members get a chance to listen and read the contract first.
Throughout the country, because we represent across the country, in every
Hold
location
on,
that
caller.
every location there's a Ford facility, there's a UAW facility. And when the national negotiators go out there and negotiate a contract, they've done everything that they can humanly possibly think of to get a good contract. Because that contract they'll have to abide by that contract. They have to live by that contract. If in any of them up for retirement, they have to retire under that same agreement. So they have to realize when we negotiate a contract, we're not just negotiating, we're negotiating for ourselves and our families also. But you have to look at the mere fact we have an explanation meeting of every contract that comes out. The members have the right to come over and hear the explanation of every article and section that was negotiated, everything that was negotiated in there, line by line. And we bring the team in, they answer all the questions. The thing about it is we just have to get more of the members out to make them understand. You
said
have
that.
to come hear the explanation of the meeting. Our biggest tool this year, an enemy, is actually social media. Here we had one of the Jimmy Settles with the bargaining team on the Ford side, should I say the UAW side, and negotiated for the UAW Ford department. They negotiated one of the richest contracts in the history of the UAW, and we had more problems passing this contract than we had in any other contracts. And the reason that being, people didn't come out to hear what was in the contract. They
So they
stayed on.
didn't know.
No, they didn't know. They came. They stayed on social media, and that was the biggest problem we had. Had they
Wow.
came and heard the negotiators talk about
The
what was in the
details, yeah.
contract and the details and why we did this and how we got to that point, they figured, well, we just talk about it on social media, and that's going to solidify it. But everybody on social media, all they have is an opinion.
Yeah.
So, they don't have bare
Wow.
facts. I know for a fact when you sit
That's
down
interesting.
and you put your feet under that table with those professionals out there in Ford Motor Company and the UAW sit down, they going at it.
Yeah.
And
I
they
see it.
come away, when the UAW come away from that table, they have got everything that they could possibly think of for their members. and not just themselves.
Caller, thank you for waiting. You're on the air. Thank you for calling Ask Welfare Rights. My guest is Reggie Osborne. You have a question?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
First of all, I'd like to say hello to Reggie. My name is Stratford Johnson, and we grew up in the same area on Field Street. But I want to ask Reggie a question about the union and the state of the union now as it relates to when I worked at Chrysler Corporation, and I've been both an at-will employee as well as being a unionized employee. And I want to, if he could just give a status on the state of the union as it relates to the two-tier work system that the union bought into some years ago, and now that they're trying to correct.
Okay. I want you to listen off the air, and if
Okay.
you need to call us back, you call us back. But I got that on the list.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Caller, you're on the air. Thank you for waiting, and thank you for calling Ask Welfare Rights. My guest is Reggie Osborne.
Good evening.
And good evening.
I just want to ask a quick question. Has the union considered at any point in time of starting a campaign to pull in the churches and the NAACP and other so-called civil rights organizations to pull in a boycott to shut down the commerce in the city of Detroit so that we can get the respect that the pensioners deserve, as well as our children in schools. Thank you for taking my call.
All right, I put that on the list, and we're going to get to it. We're going to talk fast, but we're going to get to it, okay?
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, now, Reggie, the next thing on the early list was about the teachers going out on strike. And the teachers didn't go out on strike. The teachers pulled something out called a sick out.
Exactly.
And that's connected to this question of whether or not people believe you need a union or not. Women, for the most part, are not involved with unions and don't see the need. Unless you have somebody from an organized union in your household and you see the benefits of it. Women oftentimes don't know why it's important. I see CLUE women, Council of Labor Union women, some of the toughest ladies I ever met in my life, and all of the money and the causes that the UAW for years that I'm aware of. Every year we go get some Christmas boxes from y'all.
Exactly.
Every year we send a whole bunch of kids down to the region office, and they get Christmas gifts, and they be coming back crying. They be getting coats, hats, gloves, boots, trips out of town. I mean, all kind of stuff be happening, and we send folks down there every year. So answer that in connection with this comment about whether or not, because the pensioners in the city of Detroit are in big trouble, and I guess that's Miss Seaside's issue too. So many things have been taken away from retirees. And what is your thinking? What can you comment on in terms of we already know why unions are important, but benefits being taken away, and particularly the last caller talked about the city of Detroit pensioners. Some of them are making retirement benefits or getting retirement benefits that make them eligible for food stamps. It's so low.
Yeah. Well, it's unfortunate a lot of these things happen, and I can basically only really speak about the UAW retirees because we service over 14,000 in UAW Local 600. If you
Is
know
that
that, yeah.
600?
And America has had its way with everything when they decided they didn't want to bail out the automobile industry. And if you notice, Ford Motor Company was the only one that didn't take their money. General Motors Corporation, Chrysler was a corporation. They took the money. And in taking the money, they decided once you go and file bankruptcy, you lose everything. So, yeah, a lot of our retirees on the Chrysler side, a lot of them on the General Motors side, they lost a lot of things because of the mere fact that they filed bankruptcy. And bankruptcy said you don't owe nobody anything. But it was just good that the unions could go in there and hold on to some of the things that they did have. And, I don't know all the details, but I know that much that they did go in. And I'm almost sure, and if the caller would go and call down the International Union to the General Motors Department, they'll give her some feedback on a lot of things that the union did get back for the retirees and some of the things that they lost because of the bailout and the
Wow.
those things there. So they got some things back, and again, if she called down to the General Motors Department, the International, I'm almost sure they can give her that information.
Okay, East Side, he's talking to you, and I'll follow up with that advice as well. And then Reggie, let's go to okay, we did the sick out the campaign. Oh, two tier, the two-tier work situation that one of the callers talked about. What does that mean? Because a lot of people may not know. What is a two-tier work profile? What does that mean?
Well, you have to realize at the one time the Chrysler employees was definitely in bad shape, as well as it's a situation where it's real touchy, and a lot of things you have to sit back. I don't have all legalities on it, more so than a lot of those that sat at the table and those that negotiated the two tier. Um, I don't have a lot of information on it, so I'd rather not actually get into that because I wouldn't want to say something that I would not,
Okay.
supposed to say, and I would not want to be obligated. They said, "Well, Reggie, I was the one who said this." No, I don't want to get in that position. So, that's a question I think I'll stay back off of because I don't have a lot of information on that question
Okay,
there.
and what we'll do then, we'll hold that because we're gonna bring you back again, and we'll
Right.
let you do some homework on that between
Exactly.
now and the time you come back. Let's get into let's see, it's 40. We're down to our last 16 minutes. 433-60351. Let's talk a little bit about some of the activities that the UAW has been involved in the last couple of years. What kind of community events do you all manage?
Well, you know what? Let me say this first of all. People think unions are greedy. They don't do nothing but ask for money. They want dues. No, anything and everything that we do is because we're a union. You take the Great Flint, you take the water
Yeah.
situation up in Flint.
Yes.
Every UAW facility that could made a move to to take water up to Flint. Myself, me and my team, with the blessings of our president, Bernie Rickey, we started water drive back in October before it even hit the news media because we knew there was a need up there and we had people that were talking about it. So I made a couple of calls, a couple of shelters up there, and we got involved with the water detail then.
Well,
And
wait,
we,
wait just a minute, Reggie. That can't be true.
mm,
Cause see, that can't be true. Cause see, the governor said he just was not able to figure anything out. And I mean, you're trying to tell us that way back in October, before the news came out, you knew something about water. So that can't be, Reggie,
yeah,
because
it can too.
emails and whatnot. I mean, I don't know what you mean. People were
You
talking and
don't.
you were listening.
Oh
What do you
yeah.
mean, Reggie? That's not possible. We talked to the governor, and he said nobody told me anything.
Yeah, well,
You know?
we knew different.
See,
We knew different, and
oh my God.
it's sad that the first trip I made, we took. I actually went around to the retirees and local 600 Preachers Island is a retiree president of the retiree chapter, and I asked the guy. I said, "Look, we want to take up some donations." Then I went to the president. I said, "Look, we're taking up donations." He said, "For what?" I said, "For water for Flint." He said, "No." He said, "Go see the mark, financial guy." I said, "Okay." He said, "What? We're by the water." And we did. We brought 3 pallets of water, over 544 cases of water. We went to Ford Motor Company. They gave us a truck. And we drove the water up to Flint. I got the pictures to show just what we did on that day there.
I can't
And
believe this.
when we got to the shelter, I got the pictures here.
What?
When we got to the shelter, the Mission of Hope was the name of the shelter. Brother Pastor Bobby
Papa
Jackson,
back, Pastor Bobby.
he runs that facility. And when we got there,
No,
they
no,
were
Carl.
down to the last case of water. You think we are? I mean, it was amazing to see the smile that we put on people's faces
Getting that
for a
water every
commodity
day.
that's. I mean,
Take for
water brings
granted.
life. So
Yeah.
I mean, but it's a lot that we did, and we didn't stop there. We continued the water drive, and we put it out there, and we did it. We just did our last drive about 3 weeks ago. So but not so much as that. We deal with just our school kids.
Mm.
We got 6 schools over in the Southwest Detroit area. We deal with some of the poorest kids over there in that area,
Yeah.
and we had schools. When we first did start doing a coat drive. I think it was 4 years ago. Our first coat drive. I went to the president. I said, "Look," I said, I said we got a coat drive. It's been going for a lot of years. I said, but you know what really puts a smile on a kid's face? I said, when you can give a kid a brand new coat and we can make that happen. He said, "Reggie," he said, "let's look into this and see how we can get it done." And we did. We purchased 250 new coats for kids at
I
different
remember.
schools that needed coats. And I think, matter of fact, well, for the
Yeah,
Welfare
welfare
Rights
rights.
Organization, we gave y'all coats
Yes,
down
we
there that
did.
year.
Kids was doing fashion and
Yeah,
whatnot, little coats with fur on the collars. Yes,
exactly.
we
And then
came over
second
there.
year we came back and
Mm-hmm.
we increased. We did
Mm-hmm.
750 new
Mm-hmm.
coats. Last year we did over 500 new coats. So then we have our green bag program that we do also. That was another idea of Bernie Ricky. Bernie Ricky he's my president,
Mm-hmm.
but he's got a soft spot in
Bernie's
his
a
heart, and he
darling.
wants to help everybody that he
Bernie's a
can
sweetheart.
possibly put out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he adopted a green bag program, and our green bag program works like this: we give an individual a green bag. They go out, they fill up with the food that's on that list of items that's tied to that bag. They bring that bag to us. We give them another bag, and that continues to go on. And myself and Bill Cohan, who's my
Mm-hmm.
counterpart in the social justice department out of Local 600, we took approximately somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 tons of food just last year
I know.
with the Green Bag Project.
Mm-hmm.
And now what we're doing this summer, we're trying to get a summer menu because the menus change
Mm-hmm.
over the summer from winter to summer. The
That's right.
foods change. So what we're trying to do now, we're going to put out another green bag for the summer just so we can help the people out there that can't afford it. And what we do, we take this food
Fantastic.
to different kitchens, food pantries and things, and
Mm-hmm.
we give it to the people there so they know who to give the food to. So, there's a lot of
Y'all
things that we
busy.
do. And if you notice, Vice President Settles from downtown in the 4th Department, he called it over the Basket of Love,
Mm-hmm.
where thousands of baskets, along with four more to come, they sit down and they give out turkeys
I
for
know.
families, for less fortunate families, feeling that can't do it.
Caller, you
Yeah.
on there? You hear what's going on? Go ahead. We're down to our last 12 minutes. Go ahead.
Yes. I want to know from the UAW, man, does the plant ever do any hiring? I see people get in, but I don't, I see a lot of people get hired. I don't know how they get in there. I don't never hear anything. But I just want to know how they get hired into the factories. Are they still hiring, or is everything high tech? You got to be an engineer.
Okay, I can help you with
Okay.
that one, ma'am. My
Okay.
son has just realized, let's see, 1 year, February, March, April, 12, 14, 15. My son has been working at the local, at UAW at the fort. I'm saying UAW. He's been working out at Fort Rouge for 15 months,
Hmm.
1-5. And what happened was, uh, um, Wendell Anthony's church put out a notice that Ford Motor Company was starting to do some training prior to hiring folks. And that would have been almost 2 years ago. I'm trying to think of how we got that message in the beginning. I don't remember. But it was put out on that devil, what Reggie calls that social media devil. And I
Hmm.
think that's where we saw it. Now, I'm going to ask Mr. Osborne to speak on that a little bit more. But that's what happened with my kid. And his first class had about 300 people in there.
Hmm.
What happened, it was a 5-day training regimen, but it was the same kind of information spelled out every day for 5 days. And the trainers suggested that you don't have to come every day if you don't want to, but we're recommending that you do. My kids said the second day there was 150 people. And their attitude was, well, I was told I didn't have to come. My kid understood what was not written down. He went every day for
Hmm.
5 days so that he could hear. The next thing that happened, everybody had to take a physical test and a drug test, and most of the people passed, some didn't. Then there was a written test, and that's where we started to find out that some of our people can't comprehend. They can read things, but they're not able to analyze data. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
a lot of people were not able to go forward. And I think by the time it was all over and the VAR was hired in, it's about 45 to 55 people in that original class that went in with him. So, Reggie, what else is available in terms of people that may want to get hired at Ford or Chrysler or General Motors or any of those? And call or grab a pencil and paper, and if you
Okay.
will, listen offline, okay?
Okay.
All right.
I would have a look into Michigan Works because they have a percentage of people they have to hire. A lot of hires come through referrals, different ones. But Michigan Works is what she would probably want to check at, and see if what's the process is of hiring it in the big three, because they do have a process in Michigan Works, and they would have that information.
All right, Carl, I hope you heard that. Reggie's saying that you should get in contact with Michigan Works. If you have a computer, you can go to www.michiganworks.com and then put in the right kind of information, employment seeking, and Ford or Chrysler or General Motors or whichever one that you're interested in. And if you're not able to find that information, caller, I'll be at Welfare Rights on Saturday after 11 o'clock. Call me, and I'll be happy to help you with it. Caller, you're on the air. We're down to our last 10, 11, 9 minutes. Go.
Okay, I understand that the big threes don't hire those folks that are hired in. They are contracted in, and they'll let go when they get ready to let them go. Thank you.
Okay. Reggie is frowning about that. Reggie, she says people that get hired at the big three are contracted in. All right, he's going to address that right now, ma'am.
I haven't seen any contracted individuals come in, and no, a lot of things you hear is not true. That's not so. No, it doesn't happen like that.
All right, my
Yeah.
kid is not a contractor, and he wasn't contracted in. And when my son got in the minimum number of days for him to get into the union, he went the day before and showed up at the desk with a pencil and a paper, his union shirt on. He bought a hat. He had everything he needed, wanted a copy of whatever documents it was so he could start reading them. My kid goes to the union meetings and gets there early and passes out papers. And when he gets off or out of the union meetings and goes back to where he is, he's a high-low driver. He fusses at the rest of them. Why wasn't you at the meeting? And they tell Navarre, well, I couldn't go for whatever reason, and I want you to just tell me what happened. And Navarre tells him, I'm not telling you nothing. You can't get no information out of me.
Exactly.
Calling you on the air. We're down to our last 7 minutes. Go.
Yes, it's just a beautiful thing to see the heart that today, union, to survive what we've been through in the past. And your guest, his heart, I feel him. And it's so beautiful because negotiations are negotiations. And I understand. But because I'm a steward in my department from where I work at, and there's so many things that I learned, and when you get into negotiations, you understand that it goes to what you take home, what you're able to live with, what even to presidential elections come down to.
That's right.
And to stand firm with your belief and to fight. And this is the thing that I see today that we're trying to hold on. And I look at the situation with the Detroit public schools, and it's in your face. It's so much in your face today, and it's like, what can we do? But then we stand strong because in my line of work, that it wasn't for the unions, I wouldn't have a job today. I just wouldn't have it. So it's hard pressed because you think, oh, well, I got a job, corporation, they tell you do this, do that, but it's more than that.
That's
because
right.
You have to look at, I remember in the old days, it was like what they called the cost of living. You had those benefits that came in real good, but over the years and time goes by, and then you realize that, wow, did we forget the struggle? But then this young man here, he got the struggle. I'm listening to him, and I'm feeling the struggle, and sometimes it seems like it's lost, but when you see a bright young man to say, hey, look, this is how it is. This is what's going on. And then it lifts us up to understand, hey, we understand contracts. You know what a contract is?
Yeah.
Hollywood has contracts. And is it a form of slavery? Well, then talk about Beyonce. If Beyonce said, well, look, I understand, I got a contract to do this, blah, 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 and then it's a contract. So if I come up short, I understand. Then that's why we have lawyers. That's why we have this and that. But here we're talking about us.
That's right.
Normal people, common people, who they call common people.
All right.
Just look at what's around, even in the city of Detroit. I cried
now,
one day when I saw.
Caller, I need you to put an amen to this. Come
You
on
know,
now.
I'm gonna cut it.
Go
I
ahead.
saw the Renaissance Center built, and I thought, we built it, common people.
Yes.
And then they thrust us to the side. Look, I understand how it's going. I caught it. Look, my blessings go to you. Keep the fight for it, because if it wasn't for a union today, I would not have a job.
Thank you, caller.
It's plain and simple. God bless you. We love you.
And thank you
Hang
so
in there.
much. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Reggie, let's take this call. Caller, you on the air. Thank you for waiting and thank you for calling Ask Welfare Rights.
Maureen, this
Ye-
is me calling back.
Yes.
The East Side lady.
Yes.
I just want to add some information. Now, just like the
International
schools,
caller.
they had guards in the schools, and the governor fired each and every one of them, took their pension away from them, took everything away from them. So they don't get any money. They don't get food stamps. They get $16 worth of food stamps. He took the pension. He took everything. So I've been trying to help them fight also. So I think it's wrong because they paid their dues. They were trained by the police department, but he fired each and every one of those guards that was in the schools.
Okay,
In
now.
the schools and hired his own people.
Now, Eastside, I'm not. I don't have the details about that. I'm gonna be at Welfare Rights on a Saturday. If you get a moment, would you call me and fill me in on what those
because
details
I've been
are?
trying to get people to help these people out because
I don't know about
$16
this.
worth of food stamps ain't gonna help nobody. And
Okay.
I helped my daughter out, and she was on time every day. And the police department trained these people. They
Okay.
trained them, but he fired each and every one of them.
I believe
The
you.
governor did.
I believe you. All
Okay,
right.
I'll talk to you tomorrow, whenever.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
bye-bye.
All right. All right. I'm not aware of that, so I don't have the details. I've heard that before, but I don't have the know-how on how to get involved in that case. And certainly, we will stand with Miss Eastside because anybody that gets fired sounds to me like that at-will employee.
Yeah, sounds
kind
exactly
of
like that.
stuff. No rights, and people just can come in and tap you. I can recall years earlier and having studied, Jen used to make us go down to the law library in Wayne State. And, we had to go down here and Jen would say, start here and read these books. And we started to read, and after a while, you wanted to go there and read information about labor history. And I remember some of the books and some of the stories I read, Reggie, that talked about women that were going into the factories and they had been in other places. They were in clothing industries and all the other kinds
Everywhere.
of things. And the boss would not only tap them on the shoulder to say, I don't need you anymore. Boss would tap him in the shoulder and say, come in the closet with me. Or, I'm not going to need you anymore, this kind of stuff. So, they're trying to play our music. These women at the locals talked about how they had equal rights and how that meant something for them. All right, Reggie, they're playing our song, which means you have about 45 seconds to wind it up and say goodnight.
Well, I want to first of all thank you, Maureen, for allowing me to come out to the show today. It's a great experience. This is beautiful. This is Jen's dream. Continue the program going. It's been going there now for a little better than 20 years. So I'm very appreciative, and I want to thank Bernie Rickey, UAW Local 600 president, that gave me the opportunity to come here and sit down. And when I got the call from Miriam to come out to the show today, I was elated. And I was asking myself, well, what can I talk about?
And you look at what that have I told you this
Yeah.
would go by fast, didn't it?
So it's a great thing. But one thing I want to elaborate on, young man talked about where the union is today.
Fast, got 20 seconds.
We are still the most powerful union in the country. UAW will stand, and we'll stand for what's right, and we'll protect our people at all costs, and we'll do whatever's necessary to see to it that we continue to represent those that want to be a part of this great union of ours.
Ooh, I heard that. Whenever I get into trouble, I call them. And ain't nothing in the world better than having some UAW members standing behind you because them was the best and the biggest people I ever met. My name is Maureen Taylor. Lord willing and the creek don't rise, we will be back next Friday. And you SUV drivers, stop that running over people. And you people that smoke those cigarettes, stop that. The rest of you, straighten up. We'll see you next
And
Friday.
y'all that's text messaging, get off them cell phones in
Right.
your car.
Bye.
You're watching W33BY, Detroit, Highland Park, Michigan.